Welcome to the Notary News Channel. This is a forum for all things notary and some things not. Please be sure to like and subscribe so that you can receive the latest notifications for new videos that are posted. My name is Desiree Roman Rodriguez, and I'm a subject matter expert in all things notary in the state of Illinois. I'm also an enrolled agent, credentialed by the Internal Revenue Service to prepare taxes and represent taxpayers all the way up through the U.S. Tax Court. This week, I want to touch bases on estimating your expenses as an independent contractor or a notary. One of the things that I have noticed when I am preparing taxes, I get independent contractors who give me their expenses. You have to have expenses in order to offset the 1099 income that you are receiving. Now remember, you're not expensing away all of that income because you need income to live on. But you do have an expectation of having business expenses. And so you do want to be able to account for those expenses. The best way to account for your expenses is to make sure all of your expenses are running in and out of one bank account. Use a debit card to pay for your expenses, and that way you have a way to track it. If you insist on using cash for everything, then get receipts. If you don't get receipts, it's going to be harder to prove that you had those expenses. Now, there are some expenses you don't need to have a receipt for, and typically those are expenses that are under $75. However, if you're going to be deducting expenses that are going to exceed that amount, then you definitely want to be able to have proof that you paid those expenses. Now, you can use petty cash receipts as receipts for expenses that you paid in cash for items that were less than $75. One of the biggest flags for getting audited is your estimating of your expenses, and you are estimating in whole numbers. The IRS knows if you're not tracking your mileage. When you submit that your vehicle mileage usage for the year was 10,000 miles, what are the odds that you drove exactly 10,000 miles in the year? That every month that you did driving, it equaled to exactly 10,000 miles. That's not a realistic number. It's not what's called a real number. It's a whole number. And you need to make sure that your numbers don't round off to whole numbers, because that kind of expense sheet screams audit me, because now you're putting into question the validity of the numbers that you are putting on your spreadsheet. There's no way that your uniform expenses was exactly $500. There is no way that your cell phone bill expenses was exactly $1,400. You just cannot put that information into a expenses spreadsheet and expect not to get audited. So if you are estimating, you're using estimates because you're too tired, or you can't find, or you've moved and your documentation is lost, and you are trying to give the best guesstimates that you can, first of all, don't guess in whole numbers, and second, underestimate. So that if you think you did 10,000 miles on your vehicle, then you want to estimate 9,872 miles. Because if you have to go through and track and prove that you did all of that mileage during the year, you can kind of put together some mileage records, right? You can say, I did 5 closings a week. On average, it was between 5 and 10 miles. I stayed nearby my home. You're now starting to see the picture. You're not going to get 2,000 exact miles. You're going to get 965 miles, 1,645 5 miles. Your numbers are not always going to be whole numbers. And the same thing with buying your clothes. I mean, even if you think you spent $500 on clothes, add in the sales tax of wherever you are. $500, let's say it's a 6.5% sales tax, well, that's going to add an extra $53.25. So then you would submit on your your expenses sheet $553.25. So those are the kinds of things you need to be aware of when you're putting together your expenses and you're using estimates, because you don't have records, you don't have receipts, and you paid with cash. Now again, I do not recommend that you are estimating numbers and not having a way to track your expenses. But if you're going to insist on guessing your way through your expenses, at least be realistic. So that's all that I'm going to have for you this week. If you have any questions, feel free to send an email to info@romanendeavors.com. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.